So hi, Steve.
Hi,
Good
Hugo.
to see you.
Great to see you. The pandemic has been good to you. You look fantastic.
No, I don't. I gain weight.
I think everybody has. I mean, what do they call it? The COVID-19 pounds that
Uh,
everybody's dealing with?
Pretty much that amount. Yeah, about
Okay.
7 or 8 kilos.
But, we
Just
still
a
have
little
a
bit
few weeks
too
before
much
our
weight.
workshop, so I know you'll be in heavy training to be in great shape for the week that we have coming up.
Yeah, actually, I just returned from a weekend in Florence where I went to a festival, music and dance festival.
Ah.
So I danced for 2 days, many hours, and I think I shedded a few kilos there.
Well, I'm happy
Also
to
in
hear
sweat
that.
because it's
People
sweating.
probably don't know, but I know that you and your wife are avid dancers, and maybe you'll show us a few moves when we see each other in late
Yeah,
April.
yeah, yeah. I'd be happy to.
Hey, listen, I wanted to ask you, I guess there's a few questions I have. It's been, I'm really looking forward to our workshop, and it's been literally, it was 2019 when we last saw each other in Milan, and I know many of us have not traveled, at least internationally, since the pandemic started. Of course, Italy is this incredible place. It's hard to generalize, but Milan specifically. What is your take? I mean, how are things now compared to kind of how they were? Where are we at right now?
We are, I hesitate to say we're back to normal because we're not really completely back to normal. Uh, but it feels like the worst is over. It's passed behind us. Now, of course, there's still cases happening. We got this huge wave with Omicron, right? Well, like
Right,
everywhere
like
else
most
in
of
the
the
world, it
world.
was like the cases were 10 times as much,
Hmm.
where everybody was panicking and lockdown, and now the cases are 10 times as much as they used to be. But since hospitalizations were really low and pretty much everybody here is vaccinated, so we were able to withstand it with no big restrictions added. And in fact, then after December, January, the cases have started going down, and now the weather is starting to get better. People will spend more time outside, so we
Yeah.
expect to be back to pretty much normal. I think today we're recording this is March the 8th. March 10th, they will lift a number of restrictions, additional restrictions, like there were some restrictions on the limits on the numbers of people who can be in a stadium or so, and those are going to be lifted on 2 days from now, actually.
Oh, that's
So
great. Yeah,
there
like
will be
a
a
lot here. I know here in New York, they've lifted the mask mandate even for New York City schools. And New York has been particularly conservative and respectful of things. So it feels like we're in a much better place. I've been traveling a little bit. I've been on some planes here in the United States, and it's been feeling good. I think part of
and
what we're doing here now is, it's going to be the end of April, which I think is the perfect time for Milan, judging from my last experience there, because it's not the heavy tourist time. So there's so much going on, but it's not overwhelming. Do you find?
no. No, it's a beautiful time of the year because Milan can be very cold in the winter, very hot and humid in the summer. April is perfect. Can be a bit rainy. I mean, that's spring, right?
Yeah.
Got some rain, but usually it's not a deluge.
Right, right.
So you might have a few minutes of rain during the day. If you have a rain jacket or an
Sure.
umbrella, you will be fine.
Yeah. Tell us a little of, where the hotel is, the Art Hotel, is a great area.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
it's one of my favorite areas in Milan. It's kind of the hub of nightlife because it's in this neighborhood is characterized by those canals. Not a lot of people know that Milan has canals. It's not Venice, it's not Amsterdam, but it still has two or three canals that it actually used to have many more. Some of those canals were paved over when they built roads on top of those canals. Actually, there's been talk about reopening them, but a few were remained, and a couple of the major ones are in the area that we're going to be staying at, which is called the Navigli area. Naviglio in Italian means canal.
Hmm.
So there was canals that were built for transportation of goods. People who were transporting goods towards Milan to the city, they would enter the city would navigate on the rivers. The rivers were connected to those canals that were, since there isn't a river in Milan, so they would build canals to bring goods into the city in the
Yeah.
Middle Ages and and later.
And I remember those
And
canals being very picturesque. And I think part of our thinking in determining a base, I mean, there's so many places we could have sort of based ourselves, was the idea that participants can just sort of, during the downtime, get out of the hotel and be in a sort of great area to take pictures on their own without having to,
so what happened in recent years is that the city made the banks of the canals, the quays, or how you want to call them, pedestrian only. And all the bars and restaurants that were on those, where first traffic was going by, now there is no more traffic, so they put tables outside. So it's very nice to just sit in one of those at one of those bars or restaurants and have some food, some pizza, some drinks, and just watch the people go by and photograph them. And it's a lively area during the day and also during the night. As I said, it's kind of a nightlife hub because of all those venues, bars and restaurants where people, the Milanese, like to go out there and just relax and have fun after a day of work, get a little aperitivo before dinner, go out for dinner, go after dinner, just to see friends and mingle and meet in a very relaxed atmosphere. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, we have a great itinerary planned, and of course there's Lake Como, which I'll ask you to speak to in just a second. But in terms of sort of the daily life for a street and travel photographer, I mean, really, you don't have to label yourself as that. I think most of us, yourself included, who might specialize in landscape or may have the passion for wanting to get out of the urban areas and just see the incredible beauty that is the landscape. What are some of the places do you think that you particularly think are most photographable? And I'm sure I'll give you my agreement.
So, of course, Milan is an ancient city. It dates to before the Romans' time. So there's a lot of historical monuments in the center, ranging from Roman ruins to medieval churches, beautiful Gothic churches, including the famous Duomo. So the whole center, much of which has been made pedestrian, is just there to be discovered. But it's always been there. In recent years, Milan had a huge development of modern architecture. There were some neighborhoods that were kind of a bit destitute like 20 years ago, and the city decided that those areas were undergoing a renovation. And some notable examples of modern architecture from some of the most notable modern architects like Alvar Aalto or Gaia Aulenti and others that have, there's especially one area which is called Porta Nuova, which has become the new Milan. You go there and it's all modern, all new, in contrast with the historical center. But it's very close. I mean, you can walk from a really historical neighborhood there or go with the subway. And it's all those modern high-rise buildings, both residential and offices with some, there's a park there. There's a couple of very, I don't know if they're popular outside of Milan and Italy. It's called the Bosco Verticale, which is the vertical forest. And literally it's two skyscrapers which are covered with greenery, with trees. It's kind of quite unique to see. So that's one neighborhood that I love to go to because I also love doing architectural photography.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that that I'm always talking about is creating a set of pictures along a certain theme. And the beauty of the umbrella of Milan is that there's just so much that can be photographed, from the street life to the architecture, both old and new. And then we're going to have a little break from the urban crazy and head to Lake Como for the day. Is that still functioning? Is that still popular, that day trip idea?
Yeah. Well, let me just first, before I forget, mention another neighborhood in Milan, which I love to go and photograph, which is the so-called Fashion Quadrilateral. So
right,
it's
I remember
four streets.
I remember it well.
The best known one is Via Monte Napoleone, where the biggest names in fashion from Gucci, Dior, Armani, Versace, they all have their shops there.
Now, if we're not dressed up, will they let us in?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a credit card, yes.
Fair enough. You can walk the streets.
the main attraction for us, for photographers, is to watch and photograph the incredibly well-dressed people that walk down the street.
Yeah, maybe we're
That's
not two of them, but yeah, I do remember there some
the
beautiful,
beautiful ladies.
yes,
Yeah,
and men. I
models. You
mean,
get supermodels going there just to buy some stuff.
right, right, right.
That's a beautiful area. So the Lake Como, it's near Milan. We probably go there by train, which is not the most convenient way to go there. It takes about half an hour to 40 minutes to go to Como, which is a beautiful city. And then from there, we'll take a boat. There's a boat service that plies the route of all, touches all the towns on the shores of the lake. There's a few that, I mean, people probably have heard about Bellagio, which is pretty famous, not just because of there's the Las Vegas casino named after the town of Bellagio, and they try to copy a little bit of the style but it's a beautiful lakeside town. But there's more than Bellagio. There's 3 or 4 different towns that I love to visit. The scenery of the lake, if it's a beautiful day, it's wonderful, of course, but also those little villages which are very well maintained. We can also go visit George Clooney's place.
Of course,
He
yeah.
has a
You
villa.
guys
He has a
are
villa,
really
yeah.
tight, I understand. Yes,
He and him are very good friends.
excellent, excellent.
He has a villa on the shores of the
Yeah, and
lake.
of course, if that were true, it would definitely probably be the lead item in the workshop listing. But that's okay. We'll see. You never know. You never know. And then the other thing, Hugo, of course, is the food. I mean, you yourself, do you cook for the family? Is it your wife or your
I
daughter?
do cook once a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a chef or a I do things by heart.
Right.
And I read a recipe and I try to interpret it my own way. But yeah, I do like some cooking, occasionally simple stuff, but I do like
Yeah.
following traditional recipes. Milan is like all of Italy, it's a place to go for food,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that people who come here who have never been to Italy think there is Italian food. Well, actually, there isn't Italian food. There's hundreds of regional cuisines, different types of food. So, pizza is something that you eat it everywhere, but it comes from Naples. Or I know people who've come with me on tours, going maybe to southern Italy or to the mountains, who order spaghetti bolognese because it's typical Italian, but that's more from the city of Bologna, where spaghetti bolognese was invented. If you come to Milan, there's some typical recipes like the risotto. Risotto is typical Milanese food made in various condiments and so on, and various types of meat. Also, Milan, even though it's not a seaside town or city, is really, it has the biggest Italian market for fresh food, for fresh fish. So the fish that is fished from the Mediterranean Sea is transported to Milan during the night. So it's sold to restaurants in the early morning. The restaurant owners go to the market in the early morning, and then they serve some of the best fish that you can ever can actually be found in Milan.
Yeah, I'm sure the viewers of this video, like myself, are probably getting hungry just listening to you talk a little bit about the food. And, we're going to have a group dinner. There's going to be a lot of great food opportunities for us during the week that we spend together in
it's
Milan.
Also, it's quite recent. It was not typical for Italy to have it, but in recent years, we kind of learn how to do that from other countries, a culture of street food. Which is not typical, but there's now a lot of places where you can just grab something to eat, and it's if you know where to go, you don't go to a commercial.
And you know where to
franchise,
go,
to
I'm
those little
assuming.
places, yeah.
Yes.
So you can find some really nice street food,
Right,
like
right.
a slice of pizza, ranging from a slice of pizza, and it can be typically Milanese, but can also be from various regional cuisines because in Milan there are regional restaurants from all over Italy if you want to taste.
And, of course, it's not the gear. Gear does not make the photographer. But when I was there in 2019, I believe I had my Nikon mirrorless Z7. I've since upgraded to the new Nikon Z9, which is really a kind of a groundbreaking camera, albeit it's a little big, it's a little heavy. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's going to do on the streets of Milan and all around. Are you using the same gear that you were last I saw you?
I might get a new camera. I
Oh
was
yeah.
thinking about getting well, it's not new anymore, but it would be new for me, the Fujifilm X100V.
Ah,
Because I
okay.
still have the X100S, which I got 9 years ago, I
Oh
think.
my goodness. Yeah.
Still working. I also have the XT3, but when I walk in the streets, I want to be really lightweight. I bring my X100S, but the X100V is kind of the fifth generation. The uh, so my advice in terms of gear, if you want to, Milan is a city which is very dynamic,
Mm,
very fast moving. This
mm,
is the Milanese people have this kind of fame, or they're famous or infamous for being very always walking fast.
right.
Like people from Rome or from Naples are more relaxed. They say, "Oh, you're from Milan. You're too
Sounds
just
like New
moving too
York
fast. Well,
City.
where do we have to go?" A bit
Mm,
like that, yeah. So things happen fast, and if you have a camera that can react quickly,
right. Yeah, and
can be a
we'll
plus.
set people up. I mean, look, I've been doing this a long time, and people, some of whom, it won't be their first workshop with us, know that there are certain things you can do to make things easier for yourself, like back button autofocus. I'm a big fan of auto ISO with a minimum shutter speed. And, as much as, you're using Fuji, I'm using Nikon, we do know the other brands, and we can sort of put people in the right sort of setup. And, the workshop is a great time to sort of take chances with things. I mean, we're there to kind of learn as well as experience, and we're going to encourage people to do that as well.
Yeah, I would say that the main difference there is that if you're like in Rome or Naples, and you see somebody walking and they meet some friend, they will usually stop,
Mm.
exchange a hug,
Hmm.
and then talk about their families and how your family doing, and they will spend 10 minutes there, and you can take your time to photograph them. If
Right.
you see people walking in Milan, they're probably going from one business to the other, and they meet a friend and say hi, and they keep walking.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you need to
Well,
be able to react fast.
right, exactly. And there's no downside to be able to react fast when you don't have to as well. It just gives you more time to compose and think about the important creative decisions you're going to make as a
So I
photographer.
don't want to give the impression that life in Milan is always like that. That's kind of a stereotype, right?
Right,
Uh,
exactly.
the, the the people there, they also like to take their time.
Yeah, well, I
And
tell you what, we were going to make this a relatively short video. There's a lot more to talk about. Maybe we'll do another video before the workshop. But, I wanted to thank you for this, and maybe just tease, we were talking about some other possibilities for workshops. Maybe just talk about what we're cooking up in the fall.
we're thinking about doing possibly, if we can, a couple of similar workshops, but doing in other cities in Italy, and one would be Rome, which is of course absolutely wonderful under all aspects. I don't think I need to advertise Rome. Everybody
No.
knows about the rich history and monuments, but it's also a very lively city with it's the seat of the government, so there's a lot of people which work in the public sector there, and it's 3 million people city, which has a lot to offer, both in terms of culture, history, but daily life. The great thing about a place like Rome is daily life happens with the backstage, the backdrop of those ancient monuments and those Baroque churches, which make it quite unique. The other place we were thinking of is Palermo, which is the capital of Sicily, and that's a wonderful region. I've been in Sicily a few times, but I've not been back to Palermo since quite a few years, and I
Mm.
went last year, and I spent a few days there, so it reminded me of how great it is. And Palermo is an incredible city because it's kind of a culturally, and the way the people behave is kind of a crossroads between uh, Europe and Africa and the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's very much an African city in some respects. It has some features that remind me of some Moroccan cities, for example. There are narrow cobblestone streets,
So
a little
narrow.
decrepit buildings.
Mm.
Yeah, some narrow, some wider.
Yeah.
It's so lively, so much
Yeah.
to offer. Also in terms of history, culture, monuments,
Yeah.
churches,
I, I
museums.
I loved my time in Palermo, and in the little that I traveled in Sicily. It was amazing. I mean, it was Italy, but it was a little bit it felt a little less touristy. I didn't see as many tourists when I was there, and I was there at kind of high season. The food, I don't know, it's the volcanic earth that they use to grow the tomatoes. I just thought the food was even better. It was amazing. And of course, Rome. So yeah, we'll see what we can do. Stay posted on that. But our first priority is Milan, the end of April. And before we end, Hugo, is there anything you wanted to add?
Nothing in particular. I
No?
mean, I'll be very happy to uh, greet everyone who is coming to Milan this year for our workshop. It would be my pleasure to show you one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be amazing. And I think, there's all this pent up desire to get back out there traveling again. And those of us that are lucky enough to have that experience. And I guess in many ways, when you're doing these kinds of workshops, you go in your own city, it's gives you a chance to reappreciate what you've got. And that, honestly, you don't really need to leave home because you've got so much where you are.
Absolutely, and it's also an opportunity for me. I mean, I live just outside the city. I don't typically go there unless I have something to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I go
Yeah.
to a theater, I go to a museum, or some concert or event or something like that. But just going there for photography, I don't do that often anymore. So for me, it's also an opportunity to just rediscover some of those neighborhoods. And it's also a couple of places which have been doing some kind of scouting. I mean, not scouting because actually a couple of places I've not been to, but I've heard about. So I want to go there, and I probably bring you there to see them because they're kind of off the beaten path. Something to be discovered for me too. It's a big city, so there's always something to discover.
Yeah, well, I can't wait. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see all the participants. We still have a couple of slots left, so hopefully we'll fill up completely to our 10
Maybe you want
person.
to remind the people of the dates?
Sure. Yeah,
It'll be April 24 to 29.
that's right. That's right.
Maybe
Well,
not.
thank you. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you. And
Likewise.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in Italy and taking pictures and eating and experiencing. And, it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Take care.
Nice
Take
day.
care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you later.